Hello, folks. We're live on the Bradley J Show. Big gig, big important gig. Do not shut this off. It'll be a bummer for you. You're gonna miss out. We hear a lot about how awesome Boston rock was in the '80s and early '90s, and it's true. And it's impossible to explain. You have to see it, and you're going to get a chance to see it Saturday the 28th. No BS. It's the real deal, and we're here to tell you about it. It's Saturday the 28th at 2:30 at the Paradise. Just put that down. Trust me. That's the important thing. Saturday, 28th, 2:30, Paradise. Now we'll get into some of the details and some of the celebs going to be involved. And some of them are right here with me now. First, I'm going to go to John Graham, kind of the instigator and organizer of this, as far as according to Sean.
Yes.
John Graham is the guy so many times, is the man who put stuff together. And this is a really important thing, not only for the root cause, but for what it means for the wonderful and important the early Boston rock scene. So, John, it's up to you right now to give me a brief explanation of what's going on.
Well, first of all, great to see everybody on the screen here. This is a lot of fun sometimes, and with these characters, it's great. Yeah, this show, Sean McNally put this show together. I mean, I ran into Johnny when we were both at treatment at Dana-Farber, and there he was sitting on the sidewalk looking like Peter Wolf.
So I guess it's important to talk about who Johnny is first, if you're going to mention John.
So John Boy Franklin, one of our most beloved music supporters, man about town, always there, almost looked like he worked there, but he was everywhere. And that's how I know Johnny is. He was the guy that was everywhere. I'd go into a place, didn't I just see you? He's like, yeah, that was me. But that's what Johnny was. He was there supporting, loved his Boston bands. I mean, literally loved his Boston bands. There are too many to name, but the faces around this screen right here represent quite a bit of where his heart was in Boston.
And he was at every gig, everywhere, all the time, backstage with his camera. He was one of those guys that made it a priority to really insinuate himself with the band. He loved rock so much, and rock really saved his life. There are a number of people where rocks kind of saved their life. You know, Michael Patrick McDonald, he did the book All Souls.
Yep.
Rock saved his life.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who is right now, rock is saving her life. And John Boy Franklin is kind of one of those guys due to very difficult young early life that took rock on, and it kind of saved his life. And Sean, maybe you can explain what I mean. You received a bio from his wife, which explained this, and it's pretty intense.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, my phone is messing up right now, so I have all the notes in front of me as I wish I did. But first of all, Bradley, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate your offering. It is a big deal. John Boy was a friend to all of us. He was a friend of the scene. If you didn't know him, you knew him because he was always around, like John said. He was kind of the official channel house photographer, but he also worked at the Rat, worked at Bunratty's, he was all around town. He was everywhere. In fact, some of the merchandise that he's acquired over the years, there's channel merchandise, there's Bunratty staff, Rat staff. So all that stuff we've got, we'll be showing that on Saturday as well, actually. But yeah, Lucy, his wife, she's had a hard time with this, obviously, as you can expect. It came on pretty quickly for John Boy. He got sick and then wasn't with us for all that much longer, unfortunately. Thankfully, people like John Graham was there almost daily his last few weeks with us. And I stopped in the hospital a few times as well. And here we are for this. But yeah, I asked Lucy to put a little bio together because there's a lot of mystery behind John as well, which is kind of interesting. He was always around, but trying to look to his actual history, it's kind of weird to figure out what he actually was and did. But his very early starts, he was born in Canada to a 15-year-old mother. If I remember the whole story, and I think you have the notes in front of you, Bradley, if I mess it up, but he was adopted, suffered a lot of abuse from his adoptive family, ended up at a home, and then he's basically been battling his whole life, right? He was a fighter. He's not a very big guy. He was small, right? But he was always there. We've joked about this, how I don't care what the security was like. He found a way to get by security. If there were no pictures allowed, he got pictures taken. If they said no autographs, they autographed John Boy's picture. It's just a weird thing, but it always happened. And these guys can attest that Jerry knows very well. I mean, as I mentioned before, John Boy and the Dogmatics go back to like the very, very beginning. He's got ties in a bunch of Boston bands. You know, he might have worked with the Jay Giles band for a while on the road and Aerosmith. I've heard this. I'm trying to confirm it, but there's like all this mystery. We also know he like was Dapper O'Neill's driver, you know, the legendary politician in Boston. He was his driver for a couple of years at least. And the stories, maybe not so PC, I'm not going to share them all, but he had some pretty incredible stories, as you can imagine. But he's also a gravedigger for the city of Boston. And he always used to give me a joke about how I'm the littlest guy in the team, and they're making me dig the holes. They're all there sitting smoking butts and giving me a hard time. So, you know, he's got quite a story of a background. But you might have some more actual details that I sent you from Lucy if you have it in front of you, Bradley. I don't have my notes. It's not working right now.
Right, but he had a very, very difficult life.
Yeah.
And rock was his it was his escape, just like it is for so many people. Not just a social escape, like, oh, you know, I'm looking for something to do, but a true lifesaver for many people. And I feel like, just like Michael Patrick McDonald, and I think that this was the case with John Boy. Now, let's go. Charlie, I spoke to you yesterday in a little pre-interview, and you had, you know, real insights on John Boy and who he hung around with. I mean, he ingratiated himself or became tight with, you know, Peter Wolf and all these kinds of folks. Can you talk about the depth of his tentacles into the rock scene?
Well, I mean, I didn't know him that well, aside from, I think John described it well. He was just always around, and you know, just a sweet guy. And I knew him only in the context of doing a show and seeing him at the show and seeing him in the dressing room after the show. Always had a great thing to say about everybody. Pretty upbeat. I was never aware of his difficulties, life difficulties, but I thought that he was pretty upbeat all the time. Always had a nice thing to say, and was a passionate fan of, you know, every band. I don't know a lot of the bands that are playing in this particular event, but certainly the Atlantic. A lot of these bands were like that younger kind of group that came up. The Dogmatics, great band name, but I don't know those folks. I will after the show, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, John was one of these people. I think, Bradley, I mentioned he reminded me of Jeff Myro in a lot of ways, who was also a similar kind of a booster for just the idea of local music, regional music. John Boy would show up in Rhode Island, he'd show up in Worcester, he'd show up in New Hampshire, or even Maine sometimes for some shows. So he obviously, I knew him as somebody who came to my shows, but I also knew that he was friendly with a lot of these other bands, both the local groups and also some of the bigger names. Everybody knew John Boy, you know.
Yes, and we're going to get back to John Boy later, but since folks don't watch stuff very long, I want to get to the main event and why a person would be excited to go to this event. Again, we hear so much about the Boston rock scene. You know, young folks hear ad nauseum to them probably about, oh my God, it's terrible now. You should have been there in 1981, 82, 79. It was unbelievable, and it was.
It was.
And what this is kind of an opportunity to actually physically feel the early 80s Boston scene. It's a big deal. It's a one-of-a-kind thing. It, you know, hopefully it'll happen again, but it don't happen often. And I've known people, like modern younger people, who have gone to see bands from the 80s and then been blown away and been totally into it. This could be a, you know, in a lighter way, a life-changing event for you. Musically speaking, artistically speaking, culturally speaking, a big deal. A lot of the musicians from that time will be there. A lot will be performing. A lot of the radio people that played these people on the radio will be there. A lot of the general support will be there. It's the real deal. And so I want to go through each of the artists and say, what are you going to be doing there, and what does it mean to you? And I'll go with Fred, Atlantics and Big City Rockers.
Hey, well, I mean, I think anytime you get to pull together and do a show like this, it's an amazing thing because it's a real walk down memory lane for a lot of us. The scene itself back when it started, and Charlie can speak to this too because he was there. There was a time in Boston up until the mid 70s where if you were an original rock band, you couldn't get a show. And then Jimmy Harold, in a Hail Mary pass, opened the Rat to original music. And the band I was in back then, Bonjour Aviators, was the third band to play the Rat with original music. And we all saw what happened, and it happened organically. You talked about, hoping the scene like that happens again. It's gotta. I think it probably will, but I think it's gonna happen on its own terms. But shows like this are just a real good demonstration for people who weren't back then. About what the scene was, what the music was, why it became so popular, why some of the bands became international bands. So I'm hoping that we get a great turnout and that people who are younger, who perhaps aren't familiar with Charlie's music or the Atlantics music or the Dogmatics music, get a chance to really sort of go, oh, wow, this is something worth checking out.
Right. There's an energy that existed then and that you're going to bring back that in the interim just kind of faded away. And I guess people rocked, then they had to get a job and had children, and then that got done. It's like, I need to rock again, man. And and the essence of it is still there. It didn't go away. It's real. It's the same people. It's the same music. You maybe even have even more chops. Who knows? Doesn't matter if the spirit is there. And so, Jerry, talk about the time then and the time you expect at the Paradise on Saturday, the 28th at 2:30.
Yeah, it's funny that you what you just said, like, it's time to rock again. I think I'm in that situation where I get married, had kids, now they're graduated college, and now we're rocking again. We're actually doing that, and we're pretty much the same band, the Dogmatics, without our Paul O'Halloran, who's one of the twins in our band. But at any rate, back in the 80s, I think it was you, Fred, that said, yeah, getting a Tuesday night at the Rat was like a celebration, and eventually moving up to those weekends and playing was just amazing. You knew the place was going to be jam-packed, mostly with college students from BU and all that. And as far as John Boy goes, John Boy was always in the dressing room. You come back to the dressing room, he'd be in the dressing room. And he looked more like a rock star than you did. I mean, he seriously did. He looked like a rock star. And
you had that kind of Mick Ronson haircut, right? No,
I
not
got a great picture. I'll show you guys. Yeah, look at this. I mean, come on. Yeah,
I got that picture, Jerry, right here, the one you're talking about.
You got that? Yeah. So this is a picture of us in the Rat, and John Boy looks like he's in the band. So that's Peter O'Halloran, John Boy, Paul O'Halloran, me walking by. We're all drinking. It looks like Budweiser. Probably $1.25 back then, I'm guessing, right? But so anyways, we're looking forward to playing with all these bands that were much more successful than us. We've always kind of been a single A ball team as opposed to a triple A or pro team like these guys. And we're going to have Barrence Whitfield do a couple of songs with us. We've done.
Oh, really? Barrence
Nice.
Whitfield is going to be there. Barrence is going to be there.
He'll be our guys' guest. We're going to do Justine, and we're going to do the Georgia Slop by Jimmy McCracken, and we're not rehearsing it. We played at the Region Theater recently with him, and we were the backup band, and we just pull it off somehow. We wing it, as they say.
Yeah. Well, when guys are as good as Barrence and you guys, you can do that. I saw I think Barron's with Sal Baglio at
Yeah.
Kowloon, and it was just stunning.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
he's a
yeah.
pro. He tours constantly all the time. He's in Europe most of the time. I think that's where they really give him the respect that he deserves. Comes back here and then has a hard time drawing because as we know in Boston, it's very difficult to get people to come out to shows. And then when they do come out, it's mostly musicians that are in the audience and they're critiquing you.
Right. so a message to everyone: life now is kind of boring and it sucks. And so Saturday is going to be 4 hours of a time when it's not boring and it doesn't suck, and
There
you
you
need
go.
to go. Now let's get back to you because it's been a while since we've heard from you. Tell me about your experience in the early rock scene. First of all, John Graham does not get enough credit for all the stuff he does. He puts people together. He makes things happen. He organizes stuff, but there's no real label for that. So John doesn't get enough credit, which is a bummer. But John is a monster in Boston as far as organizing stuff. Tell him some of the stuff you've organized, John.
Well,
Rock for Wood,
This
etc.
all started with Rock for Wood, and the compilation aspect of Boston was everybody came to support each other. People would jump on with other people. They'd fill in. It was an unbelievable rock community. They talk about Seattle. They talk about whatever. Boston was crazy, and for decades it was doing this. Such a tight community. I just fell backwards into it. Don Henley was doing this thing for Wall of the Woods. I grew up, learned to swim in that pond. I said, what happened? How come nobody local's doing this? So the bands came out of the woodwork. Rock for Wood was born. And to me, that was a great album of awareness of what was happening. All different aspects of music, from Cobalt 60 to Ted Grzowski to Robin Lane to Stompbox. It went everywhere, but everybody supported each other. BCN, Bradley. Without BCN, the music scene wouldn't have been so vibrant. I mean, BCN was a huge contributor.
Yeah.
So at the opening of Rock for Wood CD release, I met Oedipus. Oedipus came in strong, started programming the Rock for Wood music.
What was Rock for Wood for people who don't know?
Rock for Wood was a benefit for the Walden Woods Project to help save Walden Pond. So, being from Concord and so forth, it hit me hard that Don Henley was coming in to do what we should be doing, and that's cleaning up our own backyard. So our backyard here now is so vibrant. Sean McNally's on at every show all the time, and he's got his fingers on the pulse, and there's a lot of great music out here, and great music from the time period of Fred and Jerry and Charlie and so many others. Their time is still here. We just got to bring it to the people. And the fact is, for the Dice to open our doors, Sean McNally, like I said, in his black leather coat like a superhero, came in and got this stuff done. And he's the nuts and bolts on this show with his channel contacts. This is also a show about the channels. I mean, this is really something special, as you said, Bradley. And BCN was a big part of promoting all of these bands at local shows, concerts.
Okay.
So here we go. That's where we are now. Let's bring it back.
All right. And I just want to also give John credit for, he knows everybody. And he actually, when I was a talk show host at WBZ, supplied me with a number of guests, which would kind of make him an at-large producer. So
Great shows.
Thank you for that. Now, Sean, now we're going to get to the point where we're going to get to you guys. First, I'm going to remind people of the gig, and now get into the high level of people who are going to be there, including you. Again, this event takes place Saturday the 28th, which is mere days away, and starts at 2:30. I'm going to be either the MC or an MC, doesn't matter, but I'm going to be there and involved in any way I can. And they're going to be people that are kind of royalty of the Boston scene, the legendary Boston scene that people pine away, that's gone. It's here, and if you don't go, you're insane. You will miss out. if you don't go, don't complain to me that things are no good anymore. So, Sean, your story is super interesting. Your channel story, you to kickstart it, you started out when you were 18, showing up doing doing the door. You became the assistant manager. Go take me through that and some of the highlights.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on my stuff, but I want to get back to what John just said. Everybody's kind of touched on this. BCN was a huge factor, and so you're part of that, Bradley. And that's why we've got WBCN people involved, like Carmelita, Carm, Chachi, Carter Allen, Shred, David Bieber. There's going to be people there that were really important. You know, bands like the Atlantics. I mean, Fred will tell you this. Carter was a champion of them. He listened to their song "Lonely Hearts," which Charlie referenced. Still one of the probably top 5 Boston songs ever. It's incredible. Still catchy today.
And we had a special
on Saturday. I can't wait for it. You know,
we had a special extended remix on Cart. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, you know who did that?
It was like
You know who
7
did
minutes
that?
long. It was
No. It was 17 minutes long.
17.
And the Boston, there used to be a Boston disc jockey kind of a union, and they did that mix for the dance clubs. And I heard it once. I mean, it was insane. I mean, it was a 17-minute mix of Lonely Hearts. There was a lot of the drum breakdown, but you know, that was incredible to me. That somebody would take it and do that to it. You know,
Like somebody said, a lot of the glory of the channel, it's also going to be at this event too. Just you know, make us feel the channel and your role a little bit. You know, 160 seconds.
So basically, to tie back in Fred, the Atlantics were a Boston band that did really well, but when they got on BCN, it just projected them to be a nationwide force. Essentially, they not just went to the local top 10 song there; they were in the national top 10 on BCN, which is insane for an unsigned band. You know, bands like John Butcher Acid. I still work with John. The Stompers, local bands, all of a sudden are getting on like national tours because of airplay from places like WBCN. So I just want to make sure we don't forget BCN. BCN's a huge part of this thing. The channel, you know, I started the channel. I mentioned to Bradley yesterday. I'll try and do this quick. I used to be a security guard at the Boston Garden, the old Boston Garden. I was in Northeastern as a freshman. My supervisor one night said, "Hey, my buddy's playing a show in town. Do you want to come?" Sure, whatever. Nothing going on. It was at the channel. I had never been there before. It was Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. We had backstage passes. We just get there. We cut the line. We had passes backstage. I walk in this place and my eyes just exploded. I'm like, what is this? I mean, I was just completely blown away. Packed house, girls partying, band cranking. It was just like unbelievable. And I'm 18, right? You know, 21 drinking age back then. We'll get past that part. But I couldn't believe it. I was like, this isn't, I got to get into this thing somehow. I was just so like absorbed by the whole music thing. So literally the next day I took the T down to the channel and I applied for a job. I get a job as a bouncer for $5 an hour, which was $1.15 more than I made at the Garden, which is okay. And I just, I just kind of fell into it. I love the music.
That's why nobody would do that anymore. That's a big difference between then and now. You were like, I love this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it tomorrow. That's
$5 an hour.
The complete difference. All right, continue.
Yeah. I would have done it for free. But it was great. I started working at the door, became head of security, eventually started booking some shows. Eventually was assistant general manager and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, when you're in the scene, and like you said, I hate to always say back in my day, because but not, the 80s really were, and even the 70s. I get there in the mid-80s. The 80s were really a different time, and it was awesome. I mean, you could literally go out every single night of the week, and we did, to see a show. We would often go see our friends opening up a show at the Rat. We go see them at 9 o'clock. We go to Bunratty's at 10 o'clock for other friends' band. Then we have the channel at midnight to watch the headliners at 1 a.m. Just like, but you could do that. It was like $4 or $5 a ticket. It was cheap. It was easy. We all knew each other. We had courtesy at a club, so they knew, hey, you're in the band. Yeah, come on in. You're cool. It was just that kind of really, really supportive scene. And again, BCN was a big part of that. Just the musicians, the scene of Boston itself was just a really, really encouraging atmosphere. And, you know, and again, this gets back to John Boy. John Boy was everywhere, and he just knew everybody. He was such a supporter of the music scene. If you loved your band, he loved your band. He supported you. I mean, even like Jerry could say this, even up to like the last 5-10 years, the Dogmatics kind of got back together. And they're making amazing music, by the way. Go check out their stuff. It's on Rumbar Records. There's more stuff coming. They really, really have some amazing music coming out still. But he would go to every one of their shows, even after they hadn't played in 20 years. Literally, till he couldn't get off his hospital bed. He was going to shows. I him with his wheelchair. He was that kind of guy. So this is kind of a celebration of that, and the channel, because the channel we usually try and get together every few years for like a reunion of all the old channel staff. The bands that played there, the crews that played there, the fans that came and hung out there. Like we had a massive family. The channel was a huge place, right? Everybody wanted to play the channel. It was like if you made the channel stage, you made it. Even if it was on a Tuesday night, it was a big deal.
It was the biggest club in the country, right?
So yeah, I didn't know this. I told you this yesterday. Yeah, so I was 18, right, and I didn't know this. Probably I was 20 as a manager, but I was told it was the largest club on the East Coast. And I had no idea. I was
1,700 was the legal limit.
Oh, that was the capacity. I was curious about that. Yeah,
that was illegal.
I saw Jerry Lee Lewis there.
What's that?
I saw Jerry Lee Lewis there.
Everybody played the channel.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's Spinal Tap, Iggy, Jesus and Mary Chain. I'm going to continue to give you an idea of the caliber of people who are going to be at this event on Saturday, the 28th at 2:30. Charlie Farron, my God, there's two first bands I saw like ever were Bowie in 1976 at Station to Station tour. I guess this was way before that. I guess so. The first band I ever saw in Boston was a band called Live Lobster at Katie's.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this till yesterday, but Charlie Farron was in that band. I saw you in the first band I ever saw. It was in Kenmore Square. I don't know what's there now, some dumb BU building or something.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal. And so did I mention Joe Perry Project and Charlie and Fahrenheit? And you toured. Just rattle off a few of the people you toured with, and then we'll move on.
Oh, well, so
ZZ Top,
Ozzy, Rush, Boston, Aerosmith.
Wow.
I mean, just I can't even. I mean, everybody from that era: Foghat, Pat Benatar, more recently. Three Dog Night.
And you're alive.
Scorpions, Judas Priest. I don't know.
I have the same problem you do trying to remember everybody we went out with.
I can't remember, but because there was so many different eras. I mean, I was solo as a special guest touring for the last 5 or 6 years, and that's top of mind. Fahrenheit, we did the whole Boston tour in '87. And just recently, somebody posted, and I reposted an ad for a show. I think it was a tour that we did with Ozzy, Joe Perry Project, and Def Leppard was the opener.
And that was before they had the Def Leppard sound,
It's a
right?
monster
It was
tour.
before they were still beginners. They didn't have that sound yet, but boy, they were a good band. They played and sang really great. And at that level, almost everybody is really good. Really,
I want to talk to Jerry about an upcoming movie, but Fred, give me a little background about your experience. I mean, geez, you lived the rock life, you lived the rock dream. You were on the road. Talk to me about some of your highlights.
Oh God. Well, I think for me, one of the highlights was we got to tour the whole country with Roxy Music, who are idols of mine. I just loved Roxy Music. We went out with Cheap Trick on the Live at Budokan tour.
Wow.
So
that was you. You were on that tour.
For part of it. For part of it, they kept flipping opening acts, but and we did a ton of one-off concert work. We did Talking Heads on the Stop Making Sense tour. We did oh gosh, well actually, in the worst one in terms of the audience was opening for Foreigner at the Cape Cod Coliseum. It was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare.
What made it a nightmare? Just for the sake of story.
Last show of the season, everybody was hammered in the parking lot when we pulled in. It looked like a scene from Apocalypse Now. They let the people in 3 hours before we went on. The HVAC system wasn't working well, and it was as hot as hell. It was the last show of the season, and they served beer. So what could go wrong? You know, it's like, and it was just we hit the stage and they wanted to see Foreigner. They just didn't care who we were. They didn't care, and they threw everything at us. They threw sneakers, they threw drinks, they threw everything at us, and we just said basically, "Up yours." We're doing our show.
Yeah, that builds character, right?
And we wore them down. But song before the last, somebody threw a broken glass nip bottle and hit our bass player B. Wilkinson off the forehead and opened it.
God.
But he kept playing. And we come off stage, we're in the dressing room, and Charlie could speak to us. You remember Neil Jacobson from Don Law, Charlie?
Yep.
And so we're in the dressing room. We all have PTSD. B has a towel with ice on the blood. And Neil comes strolling in with his briefcase. He goes, "Great show, guys." And I said, "Really? What show were you at?" Because the one I was at, we nearly got killed. He said, No. You made it through the whole set. He said, here, it's like a sport. They drive the opening act off stage. So, so that was a fun time anyway. Yeah.
Okay, and Jerry, let
go ahead.
me wrap it up with Jerry. People talk about you as the very essence of the early 80s Boston scene. And in order to see that, I guess you have to display that to let people know about it. I'm hearing something about a movie coming up. Is that true?
Well, no. Well, the movie has already happened. It was a documentary or a dogumentary, which they a local director from Rockland, Mass, did about us, and they entered it into the film festivals last year. It's kind of already gone through that. I don't know how many. It won quite a few awards. Was entered in the Boston, the IFF, and was shown at the Brattle, and so we received a boost about that. But basically about how we're all from Dorchester. We all went to school together. So this band I've known since the first grade. Okay, and the Paul O'Halloran, our bass player, passed away in 1986. So the story is also reflective about him as well, passing away and how we stopped. And then we got back together in 2019 again, after we, all were married, had kids. And it's going to be streaming soon, I believe. Not sure, I don't have anything to do with that. That's someone else's deal. But we're in it, and it's done really well and helped us. We're kind of proud of that. That's a good thing. So
yeah,
and
So you must be. I don't know. If you're like me, you must feel kind of comfortable. Like, man, we rocked. We went out there. We saw. We conquered. We killed it. It must give you a nice feeling. And then to be able to come out here, knowing you got nothing to prove, and just kill it on stage must be a lot of fun for you guys.
Yes, and and the other thing that is the Paradise is an excellent venue, and that all the people that are volunteering, all behind the stage, all the staff and all the sound men, the engineers, they're all top notch. They're gonna be there, and they're gonna make sure that everyone sounds great.
And that's really cool that Sean chose. I guess it was Sean that chose Paradise, because the Paradise has been a thread through the Boston scene from pretty much the get-go. I used to hitchhike down here in the mid-'70s to see people like Lou Reed at the Paradise. Before there were any back then there were tables. Mm-hmm. And they would wait out in the anteroom, and as soon as the door would open, people would run and elbow each other to get a good table to see the band. And it's been a thread throughout the Boston rock scene. And I do want to give a special tribute to Billy Budd.
Yeah.
Billy Budd chokes me up. He's like the best guy ever. I love him. He's one of the few guys that remembered the old school Boston rock love. And he
was the Atlantic's road manager.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, for the entire history of the band, he was the Atlantic's
I did not know
manager.
that. There's so much about him I don't know, but
that's
sometimes Bradley.
He's retiring, and he's going to be there for this. He's going to manage this one.
Yep, he's
coming.
So
this is one of his last things. You're a giant among managers, a giant among men, Billy Budd. Thank you very much.
Billy Budd.
Awesome.
And to all of you, thank you so much. And Sean, thank you for reaching out to me. And John, thank you for being. Yeah.
Can I show you a couple of things we're going to be doing?
Yeah.
So we're going to have a bunch of John Boy's collect memorabilia that he collected over the years.
Okay? Yeah. Yeah.
Insane. So we're trying to make this a big deal, right? So as you talked about the Boston scene back in the day, we're hoping to see a lot of friends out there. First of all, the whole lineup. I didn't mention the whole lineup yet. The Scrooges are playing. The Boston band, the Scrooges. They're about 20 years been around. They are a Santa Claus suit wearing Iggy and the Pops tribute band, and they're awesome. They're going to close the show with the last half an hour of the night. Before them, Fred's version of the Atlantics, the Big City Rockers, going to be playing all those Atlantics classics. There's so many. Trying to get them down to a limited 25, 30 minutes can be difficult, but we're going to make it happen. The Dogmatics, obviously, we talked with Jerry, one of the great bands from back in that day that's still doing it since 1981. Now they're back, almost good as new. Diablo Gatto, Jesse from the Shake the Faith crew. That's his new band, one of John Boy's favorite, more current bands. They're playing the date. Charlie, of course, goes back with everybody. We love Charlie, one of the most fun guys I know and most of the most positive guys. Adam Sherman fronted Private Lightning and the Souls, and he's still playing and making music today. Fantastic.
Private Lightning goes way back.
They were another channel headlining band. And Johnny Barnes. Now, Johnny Barnes might not be as known. He played the Rat back when the Rat was opening up, like what Fred was talking about, the early days. Johnny Barnes, he had different bands, Automatic. He had a lot of bluesy stuff, but he actually became a cop, a detective. He's an author. And he actually, funny enough, he took over my job as head of security at the channel. When I moved up to assistant general manager, Johnny Barnes came in and became the head of security. He's opening the show. He and John Boy became very, very close, especially after the channel closed in 1991. So Johnny's going to be there. We've invited everybody. Listen, Dinky Dawson's on the list. He put the PA.
Dinky Dawson?
Wow.
He's been dealing with a lot of health issues, but he's going to try and get there. Tony Rain. We invite all the old channel staff. Like I said, it's a channel reunion. It's a celebration of 80s Boston. But yeah, not to get too off topic yet. Some of John Boy's stuff. I just want to show a couple of his items here.
So these are going to be on for auction.
These are going to be displayed for auction. Like
Oh my God.
Old school. I'm not done. Hang on. There's more. But wait, there's more. Aerosmith.
How did he get these?
Well, that's
He's John Boy.
John Boy had connections. He was on the road with these guys. The Jacksons. Are you kidding me? Look at this thing.
Whoa. I mean, that's big money right there, I hope.
Rock and roll. Look at that. How about this one? This is probably the rarest one I've seen yet. Jay Giles, Cobo Hall, 4 Nights, 1980. Wow. Jacket. Go figure. I've never seen
this. Like they're in great shape.
Couple more. Just a couple more. Look at this one. Jay Giles band. Amazing.
That's old school.
This is the 80s. Even Brian Adams. What color? I think this is Brian Adams.
Ooh, a denim jacket.
This is just an idea. This is just an idea of the stuff.
Can you show me that Stones one again?
This one here?
Look at your.
Yeah, I know somebody who might want to buy that.
That's going to be worth money.
Please.
Yeah.
They're definitely worth a lot of money. Honestly, some of this stuff might go up on the private auction because I've been told that don't sell that for cheap. So, but we're going to have it all there. We're going to display it all. If somebody does want to make an honest offer for this fair, please reach out. Again, here's the flyer. I've been sharing all over social media forever. Don't miss the show this coming Saturday. But I got a ton of stuff I can show you. I don't want to take up more of your time, Bradley, but there's like some of this stuff, the old school.
I have plenty of time.
The Stones T-shirt from the 80s. His John Boy's channel jacket.
Oh, cool.
All this stuff's going to be available. Old cool stuff. Giles stuff from like way back when. There's so much Stones, Arrows. Look at this. U2 opening for the Giles band.
Jeez.
Way back.
U2 opening for the Giles band.
Yeah. there's literally hundreds and hundreds of stuff, of shirts, ticket stubs, posters. He saw Mink DeVille at the Whiskey in 1977. I have ticket stubs from there. I mean, insane stuff.
Attention, David Bieber, who's a collector of all.
David's gonna be there. He'll be there as well.
I also heard that it's possible Robin Lane and the Chartbusters might be there. Is that true?
Might be a couple other folks that have other engagements during that time frame that can't be announced publicly because they're playing other shows. But yeah, there's other Boston legends I fully expect to be involved. So yeah, there's be a lot of surprises. I would highly recommend get out there and see the show. They only start at $25. You can buy tickets at the Paradise that day. You can buy them online through Ticketmaster now. But if you want to save yourself some fees, box office open at 2:00 on Saturday. This Saturday, great last minute ticket present for Christmas. Feel free to come out and celebrate the end of 2024 with us. It's gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of old friendly faces and memories from back in the day, and some amazing music. So please come out.
And it's not only the people on the stage, but it's the people that were in the scene that were going to be there. I don't know when you'll get another chance to be immersed in the genuine Boston 80s rock scene. This is
And it's an all ages
really
show.
a big effing
It's an
deal.
all ages show.
All ages
And
show.
it's Saturday,
Bradley,
so
thank
be
you so
nice
much.
out.
Look
So,
forward to seeing all you guys on Saturday.
So, John, you were
Yeah,
saying
you too. You too.
all ages.
Yeah, so being an all ages show on a pretty decent day we're going to have on Saturday. A lot of the old school rockers, bring your kids so they can see and hear about dad's days and mom's days, about when Boston was big. And what a great opportunity for that also.
Bring your
Great
first
show.
wife.
Bring all your wives. And if you're a person gigging, starting, trying to start up in a band, it'd be tremendous networking opportunity, and
We had it good.
just to talk to road warriors and see what it's really like.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
You guys, I cannot thank you enough for all you've done musically
Thank
throughout
you,
your
brother.
careers, and thank you for joining me here, and thank you for doing what you're doing for John Boy Franklin, one of the biggest, most sincere supporters of the Boston rock scene ever. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Good job.
And
See you
everybody-
Saturday, everybody. Come on
everybody
Saturday.
Everybody who's seen this, please share it. That's a big deal. Share it to your town group. If you're in Brockton, share things to do in Boston. Share it. That makes a big difference, and it'll be a big help.
Looks like
Okay,
we're
you guys.
like the Brady bunch, but it's the Bradley bunch. Hey.
There you go.
If you like to
See you Saturday, everybody.
You
See you
say-
Saturday.
rock.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So I'm
See you,
going
bye.
to end this stream, but that doesn't mean that we'll be losing you. It's just going to be not live anymore.